A couple of years ago, my daughter started this thing where when my wife would leave to go to work, or the store, or anywhere really, she'll yell hearts and stars, and they throw imaginary hearts and stars at each other to catch and put in their pockets. That gave me the idea to file some stainless steel bolt heads into some heart and star pendants to put on a necklace chain as a gift. After seeing some YouTube videos on the subject, I decided instead to cast them in pewter. And that is where our story begins. I rounded up all the walnut scraps I could find from other projects and started milling them down into the parts I'd need to build two small necklace boxes. And just as a heads up, this project has several different parts to it that I was jumping around filming two videos on simultaneously, so the way the footage is put together here may not always be the order in which I filmed it. A couple of times you'll see me working with a piece you already saw finished in a previous clip. I liked the grain pattern on this piece, and I was able to slice it into 4/4 inch thick pieces for the tops and bottoms of the boxes. I nibbled away at the sides until I had crisp 45-degree angles and used painter's tape as a clamp to glue them together. It's important to make sure each set of sides are exactly equal in length or the box won't be square. After that dried, I marked the bottom panel for a slip fit. So far, knock on walnut, I haven't had any wood movement problems with just gluing on tops and bottoms of boxes this small, but they won't be leaving my house, and I know a local guy who can fix it if it cracks in the future. I trimmed off most of the excess on the top and then used a plane to bring it down flush. I found clamping things to the table saw fence works pretty well in the absence of an actual vise. I roughly sketched on some guidelines for pillowing the top. Make sure that you start on the end grain first like I forgot to do, so that any tear out you get will be taken away when you do the sides. After the top was rounded over about the way I wanted it, I smoothed it all out with a sander. I installed a smaller, thinner kerf blade so it takes out less material when I separate the box top. Starting with the short sides first, I very carefully separated the top from the rest of the box. This is always the most nerve-wracking part for me. Is it going to come out okay? Is it going to be completely ruined and we start over? We don't know yet. The lid didn't offer me much to hold on to here, but I gently lapped both halves of the box on here just to true up the surfaces and make sure they fit well. I carefully marked out for the ridiculously small hinges I didn't think through very well, but completely forgot to film actually cutting the mortises. I like to think I looked like this though. That mortise is 5/16 by 3/16. For you metric users, that's, hey Alexa, what's 5/16 by 3/16 in millimeters?
7.938 millimeters by 4.763 millimeters.
Well, there we go. And now it's time to get down to brass tacks. I'm sorry, please don't unsubscribe. A little trick I like to think I came up with, but totally stole from some other box making video, is to use some CA glue on the lid side of the hinge. This eliminates any positioning error when you drill for the fasteners and leaves the halves perfectly lined up. I found it easier to use the fence as an anvil to support the thinner lid when putting in these nails. If I were using screws, this part really wouldn't be necessary. I marked out and drilled some 1/8 inch holes for some tiny magnets to hold the lid closed. These magnets also serve as a good fidget toy. I'll leave a link to the ones I got down in the description. Another little trick when installing these tiny magnets is to hold them with the end of your nail set. I'd get them started with the nail set and then give them a gentle tap with the tack hammer to make sure that they were flush with the top of the wood. Before installing the magnets in the lid, make sure you have the polarity correct, otherwise your lid is going to want to push open rather than pull closed. I just clicked them onto the magnets that were already there so I could see which way they needed to go. I went really simple with the finish on these boxes and just used one coat of General Finishes Armor Seal in satin and then topped it off with a coat of Johnson's Paste Wax. I stood there staring at that rigid box for a good 10 minutes and still can't figure out how it ended up in my garage. No idea where it came from. I bought a copper etching plate on Amazon and used my super professional looking bandsaw stand to cut a couple of inserts to fit into the lids. I'm marking it 1 inch too narrow in this clip, but I corrected it before I cut it. This is one of those out of sequence clips I was talking about earlier because I actually did this before I installed the hinges on the box. So I ordered some of this Cricut printable vinyl and printed out my pattern on here. I'm going to cut that out and apply it to the copper sheet, and then I'm going to take an X-Acto knife and try to go in here and cut out what I don't need. And before I put the adhesive vinyl on here, I want to go kind of polish this up a little bit and hit it with some isopropyl alcohol to get rid of any fingerprints, just to help the vinyl stick and give me the best surface I can get. This took a really long time. Twice. If I ever decide to do this kind of thing again, I'm probably going to break down and get one of those at-home vinyl cutters. One down, one to go. And all these extra bits of vinyl that I cut off at the beginning, I'm going to use to wrap around the back side, because I don't want the sides or the back exposed to the chemical etchant, lest it chemically etch things I don't want etched. So I'll put this all the way around here so that nothing is exposed save what we want eaten away. Okay, I have gone ahead and taped my piece to a foam block. I've got it taped all along the back of there and a little bit extra on the ends just to hold it on. This will help it float. I'm going to fill this little vat right here up a little ways with some ferric chloride solution that I ordered off of Amazon. And now just float there like a tiny little ship. Toot toot. About every 30 minutes or so, I would pull it out of the solution and brush the surface with an acid brush just to make sure that there were no copper particles sticking to the surface messing up the etch. After about 2 hours in the ferric chloride solution, I went ahead and pulled it out and neutralized it in a bath of baking soda and water to stop the etching process.
Please be safe when using chemicals. Keep some gloves on.
You're right, craftsman, you're right. I buffed up the front with some Scotch-Brite and then some 4-aught steel wool, hit it with some clear lacquer just to keep it from going green so quickly, and then affixed it to the inside of the lid with some Starbond Thick. I had a sheet of thin PVA foam laying around from another project I haven't got around to yet, decided to use it as the pad to put the necklace on. I added a few cutoffs on the back to create a pocket for the chain. Then I used some leftover flocking from yet another project to make it soft and fuzzy. And blue. So pretty. The fibers only stick to the primer that you put down, so all of this leftover stuff in the box can just be scooped up and put back in the bag for use later. Did I mention I made the pewter pendants from scratch? If you want to see how I did that, stick around to see me play with some fire and molten metal in a follow-up video. I got it all done about 4 a.m. Christmas Eve morning and was about to go to bed when I thought, wouldn't it be cool to make little custom gift boxes too? That cost me another 3 hours of sleep. Before anyone mentions anything, yes, my wife gave me the go-ahead to include this candid from Christmas morning.
Wow! Daddy, you made this all by yourself? It's beautiful. Really? It's starting to make me tear. Oh, thanks, honey. It's beautiful. It didn't think you would give us the hearts and stars. He's always giving you the hearts and stars. How do you get this out? These hearts and stars. You're going to do the hearts and